Greetings, folks. Thank you to the AMPS event team. I am here to discuss urban transformation for resilient, sustainable urban communities. For the theme, Transforming a Precarious Present, Politics, People, and Place, I will be reflecting on professional practice experience of sustainable urbanism, survey findings on the spatial needs of a post-corona community, current literature on resilient urbanism, and finally, I discuss a conceptual spatial plan for an urban community in Old Kent Road in London, England. My name is Jacqueline Bleicher. I'm an urban designer, UK registered and chartered architect, and postgraduate research student at the University of Surrey in England, the United Kingdom. I will be referencing former practice work from Global Urban Design, a community interest company, also known as GUD. Part 1. Practice experience of sustainable urbanism. I was particularly influenced by the Sustainable Urban Neighborhood Diagram by architect and urban planner Douglas Farr. Farr's 2007 diagram, pictured here on the left, shows an urban neighborhood that is complete with a neighborhood center, mixed uses, walkable for most people at 400 meters or a quarter mile from center to edge. What is significant about Farr's diagram is the reintroduction of urban greening, including sustainable urban drainage. What Farr's diagram does not address is building height, which allows the urban designer to adapt ideas to regional preferences. Also shown is a table of sustainable urbanism dimensions and characteristics. Under the spatial dimension, there is a list of sustainable urbanism, urban design principles. I adapted urban design principles to design new urban forms informed by ideas and goals for the social, environmental, economic, and spatial dimensions of the site. In this height-restricted practice example, the building heights here range from 1 to 3 stories. The proposal is residential-led mixed-use development with 260 residential units and commercial, hotel, leisure, food and beverage, amenity, green space, and access to the waterfront. The urban design principles utilized in this example are from Sustainable Urbanism, Responsive Environments by Bentley et al. 1985, and refinements on these ideas informed by professional practice. The refinements encompass diversity, which includes mixed use from sustainable urbanism, in addition to different building types, tenures, and people of various ethnicities, social and economic backgrounds. Character refers to buildings' distinct appearance and neighborhood identity. This is a refinement of legibility from responsive environments, meaning that distinctiveness is informed by Kevin Lynch's paths, nodes, landmarks, edges, and districts. Accessibility and ease of movement is a refinement to facilitate aging in place and inclusion of people of various abilities, informed by sustainable urbanism's pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods. This slide illustrates considerations for circulation and access, parking requirements, green space, and the mix of land uses. Also illustrated are the individual blocks and the building heights for each block. This image shows variety in building types. There is a community center, a recreation space and boat ramp, apartments, terraced or row houses, larger courtyard housing. There's also car parking within the block, so pedestrians can enjoy tree-lined streets with sidewalks shown in white and bike lanes in blue. Part 2. Sample Londoner Survey on COVID-19 Lockdown Spatial Needs for Homes and Neighborhoods. 2020 was an unprecedented year with COVID-19 global pandemic and the ensuing lockdowns here in the United Kingdom. Like many, I was working from home, and the experience made me realize that accommodation and neighborhood amenities could support or hinder continued productivity, mental health, and physical well-being. I was curious about other people's lived experience of place through the lens of the COVID-19 lockdowns. With collaborators, I circulated a post-corona community survey to understand what people observed and recommended to improve the places where they lived today and for the future. Sample survey questions include what community amenities or services were missing from your neighborhood during the lockdown COVID-19 pandemic, and in an ideal world, what do you think would improve your home and community? Most survey respondents lived in London, England. Respondents were primarily women, ethnoculturally diverse, aged 41 years and older, who rented their accommodation and lived in 2 to 3 person households. Respondents resided in apartments or terraced housing with 2 or 3 bedrooms. Participants requested home offices so they could work from home. External space requests included parking and private outdoor space. Missing neighborhood amenities that were identified included sidewalks, bike lanes, and shops in walking distance of home. Respondents thought that neighborhoods could be improved by the addition of parks within walking distance and outdoor bicycle storage facilities. For the future, respondents wanted better quality housing with insulation, good air quality, natural daylight, and reliable internet connectivity. They also wanted communal areas with a barbecue and access to shared community gardens to grow food. The future respondents wanted better neighborhood amenities, including a community center, more active travel infrastructure, fewer cars, and subsidized public transport. Respondents also requested that future neighborhoods have electric vehicle charging points, higher quality local shops, affordable housing, and local workspaces or co-working spaces. Respondents raised social non-spatial issues such as caring about community members, hostile treatment in public space, and the need to access opportunities and financial resources. Wider discussion topics included multi-generational housing, sustainability, household operating costs, improving community health and well-being, and residing in complete livable, walkable neighborhoods. Part 3, Resilient Urbanism and Climate Change. The term resilient urbanism has been attributed to Belgian landscape architect and urbanist Louis van der Swelman, 1883 to 1929. Resilient urbanism was a response to destruction caused by World War I in Belgium. The image on the left illustrates Swelman's ideas for districts with parks, areas for water and soil drainage. Resilient urbanism is known as the urbanism of crisis. 5 types of crisis are considered with respect to urban spatial considerations: natural crisis, ecological crisis, economic crisis, man-made crisis or human-caused crisis, and health crisis. Accordingly, resilient urbanism encompasses climate change. The current climate crisis is reframing resilient urbanism to realize resilient, sustainable, existing and new urban settlements. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC 2023, have identified regional climate risks which are important considerations for urban designers as climate hazards will vary by region. The table on the right from the literature review has a comprehensive list of urban design principles. However, select urban design principles are shown on the left. These urban design principles address prevention, adaptation, and new resilient urban built environments, specifically renewal and utilization, which refers to renovation, redevelopment, and reuse of existing assets. densification, which is increasing activity and density to reduce land take, and intensification, which is the efficient use of urban land. Depending on the region, other urban design principles may apply, including hurricane impact resistant design, flood resilient and seismic design, heat island mitigations, including high albedo materials, light reflective or white finishes or green walls, and passive solar design and passive house standard buildings as regionally appropriate. Both resilient urbanism and sustainable urbanism have urban design principles in common. This is because the application of an urban design principle can solve more than one problem and deliver a myriad of benefits. Shared urban design principles include compactness, density, mixed land uses, self-sufficiency, and urban agriculture, etc. Spatially, resilient urbanism promotes a mix of land uses that support local production and markets, providing economic stability from increased local food production and water security. An example of mixed uses and urban agriculture can be seen in this image of a rooftop farm in Paris. The ground floor of this building is a supermarket that sells the produce grown on the roof. Rogema, 2016, suggests the addition of resilience consideration to sustainable urbanism to create a new hybrid resilient sustainable urbanism. From the literature review, I have combined resilient urbanism and sustainable urbanism urban design principles in the table on the right. Part 4, A Vision for the Future, Old Kent Road Concept Proposal. This proposal was prepared for a design competition. The design decisions for the proposal were informed by the findings from the post-corona community survey discussed in Part 2. At the close of the survey, there were over 150 responses, which were analyzed and grouped into reoccurring themes and sub-themes to develop the 6 future communities principles that inform this proposal. The site is in Southwark, London, an ethnoculturally diverse community. According to Southwark Council, 46% of residents are people of colour, inclusive of 25% Black residents and 11% Asian residents. The site is home to various faith groups and creative groups, which are active in the area. The site is also home to the Viola Southwark Reuse and Recycling Plant, a primary school, residences, big box retail stores, parking, light industrial used for workshops, recording studios, worship, makerspace, and storage. The brief, informed by survey responses, is to create a walkable, resilient, sustainable, affordable, quality community that includes green space, shops selling healthy food, access to public transport, electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and housing with adequate internal space and outdoor space like balconies, terraces, or gardens, with basic amenities necessary for daily life and aging in place. The 6 principles developed are community-led, social, affordable, and mixed tenure, COVID-19 safe, healthy homes and well buildings, sustainable development and retrofitting, climate change adaptation, urban greening, habitat and biodiversity protection, 10-minute complete livable neighborhoods where people can age in place. The proposal revisits the typical linear high street idea to create a place with a heart, multiple destinations, rest and pause areas, quality housing, leisure and recreation, all within a 10-minute walk. Key areas include the communal area, community garden, and barbecue space, a request from the surveys. There's also the public plaza, and there is the Central Park. The proposal retains most of the existing land uses, protecting livelihoods, in addition to adding approximately 6,000 new residences, creating patronage. The site uses are mixed vertically in the buildings, so ground floor uses are shown. Upper floors are devoted to residential, recreation, urban agriculture, and space for solar panels and rainwater harvesting. The site is also mixed use horizontally, as can be seen in the site plan. The site is compact and walkable with access to a major green space within 5 minutes walk from the outer edge of the proposal to the center. Buildings range in height from 2 to 10 stories instead of the 25-story towers favored by the council. Commercial ground floor space is spread over 2 stories with generous ceiling heights per council specifications, with residential above. Principles 1 to 3 are illustrated here. COVID-19 safe homes in well building. Dual aspect dwellings allow for cross ventilation, daylight, and more generous space standards. Community-led. Community space with community-run and managed assets. Space for growing food, a community center, co-working spaces. Social, affordable, and mixed tenure. Social housing is interspersed throughout the proposal and integrated into each building, so there are no corridors or segregated play spaces. Council requirements for a Bakerloo line station are incorporated into design, and retained are 2 Grade 2 listed structures shown in the cream color. These are the decommissioned gasworks tower and residential terraced housing. Main Plaza in the Central Park is an inclusive open social space with a choice of seating options, jet umbrellas, permeable paving for sustainable urban drainage. The water fountain feature utilizes harvested rainwater and recycles it. The plaza is overlooked by housing, shops, cafes, restaurants, and the multi-faith center, supermarket, and is close to a school. These varied land uses give different people various reasons to use a public space at different times of day, fostering regular social interactions that build tolerance and trust. So users of the public space are less inclined to be hostile to or afraid of people who may not look like them, who are also using the public space. This was a concern from the survey. However, wider social issues of ethnicity profiling also need to be systematically addressed. This slide addresses principles 4 to 6, sustainable development and retrofitting. So net carbon buildings and retrofitted buildings have a low operational cost over the life cycle of the building, which was a survey consideration. Displacement ventilation systems are used instead of recirculated air systems to safeguard against airborne diseases and viruses. Climate change sensitivity and urban greening, habitat and biodiversity protection. This principle is evidenced in green roofs, green walls, rooftop gardens, community garden shop, green space, interior block podium parks, and the solar panels. 10-minute complete livable neighborhoods provide access to shops, access to services. There's also the health center and community center, and amenities like the children's play space, a sports pitch, bike lane, street furniture, rest and pause areas. This slide of the community garden shop, and communal space with barbecue illustrates some of the previously discussed principles and features. The community garden is across the street from the sports pitch and the children's play area. So you can see some of the urban greening strategies in place. Also note the bicycle lanes and the sidewalks that are visible in this image. This slide shows the orientation for the roof deck solar panels. The building shadows are for the midday sun. The shadows are short enough to shade the streets, so they are comfortable but not overshadow adjacent buildings. So each building has sufficient daylight. This is a summary sheet of the urban design principles, sustainability considerations, and sustainability features utilized in the Old Kent Road concept proposal. The sources include sustainable urbanism, resilient urbanism, responsive environments, and there's one principle from new urbanism. To conclude this presentation, here is another view of the community garden. It's also overlooking the community center, and there's a distant view of the children's play area and the health hub in the distance. Thank you for your time and your attention. It has been my pleasure to present on this occasion. Should you have any questions, please do contact me at j.bleicher@surrey.ac.uk. Farewell.